I was a wedding planner, and I personally designed my husband's wedding to his mistress. I had been with Victor for 5 years. 3 of those years were swallowed by the pandemic. The remaining 2 were spent married, pregnant, and raising a child. The wedding I had always dreamed of existed only as next time whenever it came out of his mouth, until the day I received a new wedding planning request. The client was a young woman, her eyes curved with laughter, her smile bright and full of hope. "This is the venue my boyfriend chose himself," she said softly. "He insisted the wedding had to be held here." I took the file from her, and my gaze stopped on the venue name. The church in Clairmont. The very church I had mentioned to my husband countless times, the place I had dreamed of more than anything else. I was just about to smile and marvel at how someone in this world shared my taste so perfectly when the groom's name leapt into view. Victor Langford. My fingers froze on the page. Across from me, the girl was still wrapped in her happiness. She added gently, "We've only been together for 2 months, but he said he wants to give me the best wedding possible." I curved my lips into a smile and fixed my eyes on that familiar face, the man I had lived with for 5 years. After all this time, the day I planned Victor's wedding had finally arrived. Too bad the bride wasn't me. I set the papers down and looked up, studying the girl sitting across from me. She was very young, pale, and a little too thin. My prolonged silence had clearly made her nervous. Anna Greenfield spoke carefully, her voice tentative. "Ms. Shaw, is there something wrong with the information I gave you?" I leaned back in my chair, my eyes drifting once more to the groom's name printed on the page. "No. There's nothing wrong," I said. "I just thought the groom's name looked familiar." Anna lowered her head guiltily and denied it on instinct. I don't think so. You must be mistaken. My boyfriend has never been married." The moment the words left her mouth, she realized what she had said. Her entire body stiffened. I lowered my gaze and let out a soft laugh. One casual sentence was all it took to scare her into exposing herself as a mistress. Victor's taste in women really was terrible. I pretended not to hear her slip. Tapping the venue photos with my finger, I smoothly steered the conversation back on track. "Ms. Greenfield, why did you choose this place?" "As far as I know, this church isn't very popular in the wedding industry." Seeing that I wasn't pressing the issue, she visibly relaxed. A hint of pride crept into her voice. "My boyfriend chose it. He said he spent years looking for the perfect place to get married. He's always dreamed of holding his wedding there, with the woman he loves." She looked up at me, the smug satisfaction in her eyes impossible to miss. "He told me he'd dated several women before, but he never once thought about bringing them there to get married. Then he met me, and he knew right away. I'm the one he wants to marry there." I watched her bask in her own fantasy and lowered my eyes, hiding the mockery beneath them. If I hadn't been certain she didn't recognize me, I might have thought she was deliberately provoking me. I had agreed to be with Victor because, while I was busy designing perfect weddings for other people, he was the first man who had ever designed one for me. He had held my hand and patiently described the ceremony that would belong to us. Sunlight pouring through stained glass windows. Us standing in a church, dressed in a wedding gown and tuxedo, exchanging vows to grow old together. He said he wanted to give me the most precious memory of my most beautiful years. And just like that, because of a single promise, I waited 5 years. Now he really was getting married. At a place he had described to me countless times. It was just that the bride was a woman he had known for only 2 months. I let out a quiet laugh. What a touching love story. If the groom hadn't been my husband, it really would have been a beautiful story. Maybe my praise gave Anna back her confidence. She began showing off her relationship with Victor. That night, I was working the night shift at the hospital. I saw him outside the operating room where his wife, she caught herself, then corrected, his family member's surgery was taking place. He was gripping the doctor's hand, begging them to make sure everything went well. Seeing how distressed he was, I went over and offered a few words of comfort. She pressed her lips together in a shy smile. He said it was my tenderness in that moment that made him fall in love with me. So that was how it was. Compared to them, I should have remembered that day more clearly. I had been lying on an ice-cold operating table, using every ounce of strength I had to bring our hard-won child into the world. Should I have been heartbroken, or relieved, knowing that at least I might have unknowingly witnessed the very moment they first met? A dull ache throbbed steadily in my chest. I dug my nails into my palm, forcing myself to maintain a calm, professional expression. "Ms. Greenfield, do you have any other requests for the wedding?" Anna tilted her head, thought for a moment, then suddenly spoke up. "Oh, right. The entire floor has to be covered with imported cashmere carpets. My wedding dress is pure silk. My boyfriend bought it for me. It can't snag even a little. Money doesn't matter. My boyfriend has plenty of it. I almost laughed when I heard that. Victor. The poor student I had personally lifted up. The boy who once couldn't even scrape together $5, now a billionaire CEO. What took others 20 years to achieve, I helped him accomplish in just 3. Maybe I had made his path so smooth that he forgot where he came from and the person who paved the road for him. As for that wedding dress, it was a luxury brand that required proof of assets just to place an order. At the runway show, the amazement in Victor's eyes had been unmistakable. In that instant, I was certain the dress would be mine. And then I received the brand's confirmation letter, informing me that the order had entered production. Only the size was 2 sizes smaller. I had assumed it was simply his miscalculation of my postpartum body. Now I finally understood. The dress I could never fit into had never been meant for me. I closed the folder. I understand, Miss Greenfield. I promise you a wedding that no amount of money could ever replace. After smiling and seeing her out, I let out a cold laugh and called my best friend, who worked as a lawyer. Victor cheated, I said flatly. I want him out with nothing. When it's done, everything under his name is your legal fee. Less than half an hour later, the evidence of Victor's affair landed in my inbox. Just 2 months worth of material, yet nearly 100 gigabytes in total. The first video was from the day I gave birth. Anna hadn't told the whole story. At the very moment I was fighting for my life on the operating table, Victor had taken her to a hotel. When I came out of surgery, he rushed back with his clothes in disarray, claiming he had gone out to buy me chocolate. The second video was from our child's 1-month celebration. Someone, drunk, had held the baby improperly, causing a severe rash all over his body. He was rushed into surgery. As I stood trembling in the hallway, Victor walked into another exam room and flirted softly with Anna, who was on the night shift. The third video was from my postpartum recovery, the time he claimed he was away on a business trip. The excuse had been laughably weak. I owned the company. How could I not know whether there was a business trip or not? But when I saw him jolting awake night after night from the baby's crying, exhaustion written all over his face, I felt bad for him. So I let him go out and relax. I never imagined my understanding would give Victor and Anna exactly what they wanted. An uninterrupted trip, just the two of them, sweet and indulgent. My hands shook as I held my phone and opened the longest video. The moment it started, a piercing cry filled the room. I recognized it instantly. My son's cry. My fingers trembled as I fast-forward the video. Anna's syrupy voice drifted out. You're really bringing your own son to me so I can practice inserting 4 needles? Is that really okay? Victor answered casually, almost amused, what's the problem? People are always giving you a hard time because your hand isn't steady enough. Practicing on mannequins is nothing compared to the real thing. If he can't handle a little pain, he doesn't deserve to be my son. In the past, I had always believed Victor was a good father. From his early clumsiness to later skillfully burping the baby and changing diapers. Especially after he started traveling for work, he seemed even more attentive and experienced with the child. That was why I had felt safe letting him take our son out alone. I never imagined he could be so cruel to his own son. In the video, Victor forced the child's limbs apart while Anna calmly drove needles into his small body. My son's cries grew weaker and weaker, and my heart hurt so badly it felt like I couldn't breathe. I wanted to smash through the screen and kill that vile man and woman with my own hands. Then, in the very next second, my phone rang. I answered, and Anna's shy, sugary voice came through the line. Ms. Shaw, the wedding may need to be moved up. My future mother-in-law had the date specially chosen for us. We'll get married in 3 days. It's the perfect timing. It'll help us conceive a child in one go. Almost at the same time, Victor sent me a message. Honey, my business trip got moved up. I might have to leave as early as tomorrow. You and the baby stay home. I'll bring you both presents. I looked at the wallpaper on my phone, my son sleeping peacefully, his face soft and innocent, and suddenly, I smiled. Since my husband's wedding was about to take place, how could I, the lawful wife and the wedding planner, possibly not attend? I flew to Clairmont 1 step ahead of Victor. The moment I landed and turned on my phone, his message popped up. Honey, how are you and our son doing? With a cold expression, I casually sent him a photo of me and the baby together. He replied almost instantly, our son looks so good. Honey, you're beautiful too. I don't even want to go on this trip anymore. I just want to come home and be with you both. I stared at those lines of text, a faint sneer tugging at my lips. That photo was from last month. Back then, I wasn't this thin yet. My son was much smaller, too. Victor had taken the photo himself, yet he didn't notice a thing. On the wedding day, I stood behind the scenes in my role as the wedding planner. Nearly all of Victor's relatives and friends were present. His mother moved briskly through the crowd, her face glowing with joy, attentive and considerate in every detail, the image of a flawless, loving mother-in-law. Once upon a time, she had treated me the same way, as proof of how much the Langfords valued me. The day Victor and I registered our marriage, it was during the pandemic. No guests. No banquet. She had gripped my hand tightly, her voice thick with emotion. It's our fault. We owe you so much. We'll make it up to you someday. I wasn't used to staying in the countryside, so she spent thousands to book me a hotel in town. When my morning sickness was severe, she tried every trick she could to cook food I might be able to swallow. On the day I gave birth, she was the first to rush to my bedside, clutching my hand and crying as she said, "We're never doing this again. Children come at the cost of a mother. My heart aches for you. I don't want you to suffer like this ever again. My own mother passed away many years ago. It was her deliberate care and protection that made me believe, for a fleeting moment, that I had found that long-lost maternal love again." But now, standing beside Victor was Anna, smiling sweetly, while behind them stood Victor's mother, Olivia Parker, gazing at the couple with indulgent affection. They looked like a warm, happy family. Only I stood apart, like an excluded stranger, completely unaware that I had already become an outsider. So all that tenderness from before had been fake. The bells rang, and the wedding began. Under everyone's gaze, Victor held Anna's hand and walked to the center of the stage. The wedding dress, the roses, the church, and Victor himself, it was all exactly as I had once imagined. Except the woman beside him wasn't me. It was Anna. At Victor's request, the officiant stepped aside. Victor was visibly emotional. He insisted on presiding over his own wedding. From the moment I first saw Anna, I've imagined this scene countless times, he said. I believe that the nurse who comforted me outside the operating room deserves the very best wedding. That's why I spent 2 months giving her all of this. It's not that it took me 2 months to decide to marry Anna. It's just that preparing a wedding takes 2 months. The audience burst into applause, deeply moved by this ordinary yet great love. I sat in the very last row, watching the affectionate man on stage and the delicate, charming woman beside him. If I didn't clap along, it would seem out of place. Then Anna took the microphone, her voice trembling with emotion. She said Victor was the best man in the world. When patients bullied her, it was Victor who stepped in to protect her. Chapter 4: A wedding drenched in red. When her co-workers froze her out, it was Victor who stepped in to defend her. To meet a man like this, Anna said sweetly, must be a blessing earned over several lifetimes. Watching the two of them trade lines like a rehearsed duet made my stomach churn. I had already found out the truth. Anna's nursing job had been bought. She didn't understand even the most basic medical knowledge. She followed medication orders word for word and still managed to give patients the wrong drugs, making their conditions worse. In the end, her co-workers were always the ones cleaning up her mess. But Victor didn't care about any of that. All it took was a few tears from Anna, and he was cruel enough to turn my son into a living teaching prop for her. At that moment, Victor wrapped an arm around Anna's shoulders and turned to face the audience. He was so overwhelmed with emotion that he even choked up, unable to speak for a second. Today, he finally said, voice trembling, there's actually one more piece of good news to share. Anna is pregnant. We're about to welcome our first child. The room exploded instantly. Gasps and cheers rose one after another. Amid the noise, I clearly heard his uncle who had borrowed over $2 million from me laughing loudly. Victor, you really are something. A thriving career, a happy family. You're the pride of the Langfords. Margaret, his aunt who once made me pull every string I had to send her daughter abroad, clapped her hands while wiping away tears. This is wonderful. I could tell the moment I saw Anna that she was a lucky girl. And look at that. She's already carrying your precious child. Then there was Victor's younger brother, whose startup had failed again and again, every time relying on my connections to survive. He was so excited that he stood up straight from his seat. Victor. Anna. Congratulations. I can't wait to welcome my first niece or nephew. Every single one of them had benefited from me in real, tangible ways. They had accepted my help, my favors, my kindness. And yet, at this moment, not one of them remembered I existed. Not one of them spoke my name. Just then, a 5-year-old little cousin of Victor's suddenly piped up, her clear voice cutting through the flattery filling the room. Shouldn't it be the second one? Vanessa already has a son. Her innocent words drained all the color from Anna's face. She swayed and nearly collapsed into Victor's arms, her eyes darting in panic, brimming with guilt and grievance. Victor himself froze for a split second. Then he recovered quickly, pulling her close as his expression turned icy. His voice sharpened without warning. Only the child I acknowledge counts as my first. As for that other bastard, don't mention him again. When I heard that, my nails dug deep into my palm. All these years, because he said he wanted a child, I had suffered endlessly. Medication. IVF. Giving up my career. Everything I endured was for the sake of bringing our love into this world. And in the end, all of it was dismissed with his casual words, that other bastard. Olivia hurriedly stepped in, smiling as she tried to smooth things over. Today is a day of celebration. Let's not bring up things that don't matter. As she spoke, she shot Victor a meaningful look. Victor, the wedding isn't over yet. Don't miss the precious moment. Victor's expression slowly settled. He reached into his pocket and took out a diamond ring. Anna, before I met you, I never understood what love truly was. You taught me what marriage and having children really mean. Will you marry me and let me spend the rest of my life protecting you? Anna was already in tears. Trembling, she held out her hand. I will. Victor, from this day forward, whether in good times or bad, I will stay by your side forever. The instant they exchanged rings, a basin of dark red liquid poured down from above, drenching both of them on the stage with chilling precision. The entire audience leapt to their feet in shock. Shouts rippled through the hall. Victor wiped his face in a panic. When his eyes reappeared, they burned with fury. Where's the wedding planner? He roared. Who planned this disaster of a wedding? As my gaze swept over the two of them in their miserable state, I rose from my seat and walked forward at an unhurried pace. What's wrong? I said calmly. You're unhappy with the wedding personally planned by your lawful wife? The silence in the church was absolute. It was as if the air itself had been sucked out of the room, leaving only the heavy, metallic scent of the blood, which was actually a mixture of red wine, tomato juice, and fish sauce, dripping from Victor and Anna's faces. Anna screamed first. It was a shrill, piercing sound that shattered the stillness. She looked at her ruined silk dress, the custom-made masterpiece she had bragged about, now stained a gruesome crimson. Victor stood frozen, his hand halfway to his face, staring at me. His eyes were wide, filled with a mixture of shock, confusion, and dawning horror. Vanessa, he whispered. I walked up the aisle slowly, my heels clicking rhythmically on the marble floor. I wasn't wearing a wedding dress. I was wearing a sharp, tailored black suit that made me look like exactly what I was, the executioner of this farce. Surprise, I said, stopping at the foot of the stage. Did I get the details right? Imported cashmere carpets? Check. Clairmont church? Check. The perfect groom? Check. Oh, and the best wedding possible? I gestured to the dripping couple. I thought a splash of color would liven things up. Red is very festive, don't you think? Olivia Parker, my loving mother-in-law, finally found her voice. She rushed forward, her face twisted in rage. Vanessa. Are you insane? How dare you ruin my son's happiness? Get out. Get out right now. I looked at the woman who had once held my hand and promised to treat me like a daughter. Ruin his happiness? I asked, my voice projecting clearly through the hall. Olivia, your son is committing bigamy. I'm not ruining his happiness. I'm saving him from a prison sentence. Or maybe ensuring he gets one. I haven't decided yet. The guests began to murmur. The word bigamy rippled through the crowd like a shockwave. Victor wiped the sludge from his eyes and stepped forward, trying to regain control. Vanessa, stop. We can explain. Let's go backstage and talk. Explain? I laughed. Explain what? That you used my money to build your company? That you used my connections to feed your leech of a family? Or that you used our son as a pincushion for your mistress because she's too incompetent to do her job? Victor paled. How do you know about that? I pulled out my phone and connected it to the massive LED screen behind the altar, the screen that was supposed to show a montage of their love story. Instead, the video of Anna sticking needles into my crying son began to play. The sound of my baby's screams echoed through the church, amplified by the high-quality sound system Victor had insisted on. The crowd gasped. Some people covered their mouths. Even Victor's shameless relatives looked uncomfortable. Anna, seeing her cruelty broadcasted on a 20-foot screen, collapsed to the floor, sobbing. No. That's not what it looks like. I was trying to help him. He was sick. He wasn't sick until you touched him, I said coldly. I turned to the guests. Ladies and gentlemen, you are witnessing the true face of Victor Langford. A man who calls his own son a bastard. A man who cheats on the wife who built him. A man who lets his mistress torture an infant. I looked at Victor's uncle, the one who owed me $2 million. Uncle Bob, how's that construction project going? The one I funded? He looked down, avoiding my eyes. I looked at his aunt. Aunt Margaret, is your daughter enjoying her life in London? The life I paid for? She fidgeted with her pearls. Enjoy it while it lasts, I said. Because as of this morning, I have frozen all supplementary cards. I have recalled all loans. And I have filed for divorce. Victor finally snapped. He lunged off the stage, grabbing my arm. His grip was painful, desperate. You can't do this. You can't destroy everything. I looked at his hand on my sleeve. The same hand that had once promised to protect me. Let go, I said calmly. No. You listen to me. I made a mistake, okay? But Anna, she's pregnant. She's carrying the heir. Your son, he's weak. He cries all the time. But this child. I slapped him. It was a hard, resounding slap that echoed through the church. It left a handprint on his cheek, cutting through the red slime. My son cries because he is in pain, I hissed. And this child? I pointed at Anna's stomach. I sincerely hope it never has to meet a father like you. I shook him off and turned to leave. Oh, and Victor? I paused at the door. The church rental fee? I cancelled the check. You'll have to pay for it yourself. Along with the cleaning bill for the carpet. Silk and cashmere, that's going to be expensive. I walked out into the sunlight, leaving chaos in my wake. The divorce proceedings were brutal. Victor tried everything. He played the victim, claiming I was an abusive, neglectful wife who drove him into the arms of a gentle woman. He tried to claim half my assets, arguing that my company's success was due to his management. But I had the 100 gigabytes of evidence. My lawyer, Sarah, was a shark. She presented the court with the videos, the financial records, the receipts of every penny I had spent on his family. The judge, a stern woman with zero tolerance for deadbeats, looked at Victor with undisguised disgust. Mr. Langford, she said, peering over her glasses. In my 30 years on the bench, I have rarely seen a case of such profound ingratitude and moral bankruptcy. Victor lost everything. He was ordered to pay alimony, a reversal that humiliated him deeply. He lost custody of our son. He lost his shares in the company, which I had cleverly structured to revert to me in case of infidelity, a clause he had signed without reading years ago, too arrogant to think he would ever be caught. But the real blow came from outside the courtroom. The video of the baby went viral. I hadn't leaked it, but one of the guests at the wedding had recorded the screen and posted it online. The internet did what the internet does best. Anna was fired from the hospital. Her nursing license was revoked for malpractice. She was doxxed, harassed, and chased out of her apartment. Victor's company, the one he was so proud of, the one built on my foundation, crumbled. Clients cancelled contracts. Investors pulled out. No one wanted to do business with a child abuser. His family turned on him instantly. Uncle Bob, unable to pay back the loan, sued Victor, claiming Victor had promised to cover it. Aunt Margaret's daughter was deported from London because her tuition checks bounced. His brother, the failed entrepreneur, moved into Victor's apartment and refused to leave, blaming Victor for the loss of their cash cow, me. They tore each other apart like rats in a sack. And amidst all this, Anna's pregnancy complication revealed a truth that was almost poetic in its irony. She wasn't pregnant. It was a phantom pregnancy, induced by stress and her desperate desire to trap Victor. Or maybe it was just a lie from the start. When Victor found out, he threw her out onto the street. I heard he screamed so loud the neighbors called the police. 6 months later. I was sitting in my garden, watching my son, Leo, play on the grass. He was healthy now. The trauma had faded, replaced by the resilience of childhood. He giggled as he chased a butterfly, his chubby legs pumping. I took a sip of tea. The peace was intoxicating. My phone rang. It was a number I had deleted but recognized instantly. I let it ring. It rang again. And again. Finally, I answered. Hello? Vanessa. Victor's voice was unrecognizable. Rough, cracked, broken. What do you want, Victor? I'm downstairs. I frowned. Downstairs where? Outside your house. The gate is locked. I walked to the window. Sure enough, a figure stood outside the wrought iron gates of my new villa. He looked like a beggar. His suit was rumpled, his hair long and unkempt. He was holding something. Go away, Victor. I'll call security. Please, he begged. Just 5 minutes. I brought something for Leo. I hesitated. Not out of pity, but out of curiosity. What could he possibly have left to give? I walked down to the gate. I didn't open it. I spoke through the bars. What is it? He held up a small, battered toy car. It was a cheap, plastic thing. The kind you buy at a gas station. I remember, he said, his voice trembling, that he liked cars. I didn't have much money left. But I wanted to give him something. I looked at the car. Then I looked at him. He likes dinosaurs now, I said. Victor flinched. Oh. I missed it. You missed everything, Victor. You missed his first steps. You missed his first word. You missed the nights he cried for his daddy, and I had to tell him daddy was gone. He gripped the bars. Vanessa, please. I'm living in a basement apartment. My mother, she had a stroke when the creditors took the house. She's in a state facility. No one visits her. I'm all alone. You have your freedom, I said. Isn't that what you wanted? A life without the burden of a wife and child? I was wrong, he sobbed. He fell to his knees on the pavement. I was so wrong. I thought I was the king of the world. I thought I did it all myself. But it was you. It was always you holding me up. Without you, I'm nothing. He looked up at me, tears streaming down his grimy face. Can we start over? Please. I'll do anything. I'll be a stay-at-home dad. I'll sign a prenup. Just, let me come home. I looked at the man I had loved for 5 years. The man I had planned a future with. I felt nothing. No anger. No hate. Just a profound, empty indifference. He was a stranger. A stranger with a familiar face. Victor, I said softly. Hope flared in his eyes. Do you remember the church? I asked. Yes. Yes, I remember. Do you remember what you said? That you wanted to give Anna the best wedding possible? That was a mistake. I was deluded. No, I shook my head. You weren't deluded. You showed me exactly who you are. You are a man who builds his castles on quicksand and blames the tide when they fall. I took a step back. My home is not a shelter for broken men. And my son is not a redemption arc for a failed father. Vanessa. Goodbye, Victor. I turned and walked back up the driveway. He screamed my name. He rattled the gates. Eventually, security came and escorted him away. I went back to the garden. Leo ran up to me, holding a flower he had picked. Mama. For you. I took the flower. It was a dandelion. A weed to some, but to me, it was perfect. Thank you, baby, I said, kissing his forehead. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the world. I took a deep breath, filling my lungs with the sweet, clean air of freedom. I didn't need a wedding. I didn't need a church. I didn't need a husband. I had built my own castle. And this time, the foundation was solid rock. Epilogue, 3 years later. I was at a charity gala, wearing a dress that fit me perfectly, a deep emerald green that shimmered under the lights. My business had expanded, I was now running one of the top event planning firms in the country. A waiter approached with a tray of champagne. I took a glass and turned to the man beside me. Are you enjoying the party, Mr. Sterling? David Sterling, a quiet, intense architect I had been seeing for a year, smiled at me. I am. But mostly because you're here. He wasn't flashy like Victor. He didn't make grand speeches. But he remembered how I took my coffee. He listened when I talked about my day. He played dinosaurs with Leo for hours on the floor. He was solid. I have a question, David said, reaching into his pocket. My heart skipped a beat. He pulled out a small velvet box. I know you don't need a husband, he said, his eyes twinkling. But maybe you'd like a partner? Someone to carry the heavy stuff? I looked at the ring. It wasn't a giant diamond. It was a vintage sapphire, elegant and understated. I looked at David. I don't do big weddings, I warned him. He laughed. Good. I was thinking, maybe just us. And Leo. In the garden. I smiled. That sounds perfect. As he slipped the ring on my finger, I glanced across the room. Through the window, down on the street, I saw a man in a sanitation worker's uniform sweeping the sidewalk. He looked up at the glittering hotel, his face illuminated by the street lamp. It was Victor. He looked older, worn down by life. He paused, leaning on his broom, watching the beautiful people inside. Our eyes didn't meet. He didn't see me. He was just a spectator now, looking in from the cold. I turned back to David, to the warmth, to the future. And I closed the curtains. The end.